our ability to frame Seed Club as an experience that people can come and be a part of, be useful for, earn a part of, get early access to is key. So it is a consumer product in many ways, but that consumer product is actually kind of work, but our job is to make it feel like it's not totally work.
Welcome to Netcetera, the official podcast and newsletter powered by Myosin XYZ, the ultimate marketing network. I'm Blake Minho Kim, co-founder of Myosin XYZ, and join me as each week I talk to leaders working at the forefront of innovation, whether they're at traditional brands, Web3 or AI companies, or otherwise, to demystify the latest and emerging tech that's shaping the new internet for a brighter future. Today, we'll be speaking with Jess and Josh, partners at Seed Club, one of the leading accelerators, network states, and overall vibe curators in the world of Web3. Jess and Josh are absolute legends in the blockchain community, and we had an incredible conversation tackling the concept of consumer crypto and just what it will take to get us closer to mainstream adoption. If you're interested in understanding Seed Club and where this whole blockchain thing is all headed, this is a great listen. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here's number 3 with Jess and Josh.
All right. How you guys doing today?
Blake, what's up, man?
We thriving, baby. We thriving.
We thriving. How are we feeling with, we got some green candles this week. I'm feeling all right. It's,
we're back.
I forgot what this feeling was like. Yeah, we're so back, right? We're so back.
Yeah, we're so back. It's the bear's over. The bull's here. We're all going to, hang out in Valhalla of crypto soon, and exciting.
We're going to be driving our Lambos around.
I was making fun of how bullish crypto Twitter like instantly gets, but I like feel it myself.
Yeah. You feel yourself checking the charts every 10 seconds
100%.
again?
Yeah. I was saying like a month ago I'd check it, once a week because I knew it was just kind of flat, and this week it's you got to know what's happening.
A lot more. Well, it's exciting times, and let's see what happens, right? So it's a good way to go into the end of the year, and let's see. So let's get started. As always, on every episode, we love to start with an origin story. So we'd love to have both of you guys tell us a bit about yourselves, your backgrounds, and how you found yourselves into this magical journey that we call Seed Club.
I mean, I guess I should probably start that off as it's the origin story. I've been just generally fascinated with how networks are taking over our world since the earliest days. I ran like a small gardening company to pay my way through university, and got introduced to the internet through that. I was putting up classified ads and had a fax machine at the time. It was super crazy. And then seeing the internet, I was like, oh, this changes everything. And then seeing social media, this changes everything. And I spent a good deal of my early career just in social media and media generally, and just seeing the digital transformations that were happening because of networks. And then all of a sudden I heard about the DAO and crypto, and I was like, oh, this is the move. This idea of networks running the world being owned by one or two companies just didn't seem like a sustainable thing. I felt the pain of the rules being changed on me as an operator in those networks. And yeah, crypto is just a fascinating potential solution. And I think I hold it in the same regard today. I don't know if we've unlocked the true power of crypto, but there's still like a very worthwhile, it's a very worthwhile thing to build towards if we can bring a little bit more variety, freedom, a few new business models to the internet. So Seed Club started it's almost 3 years, man. Almost 3 years. Actually, it's 3 years. October 20th. We should celebrate birthdays. We're not very good at celebrating birthdays, but it started. I just had a bunch of friends that were playing around with social tokens, and they all had this exact same questions. And I was like, well, the way we solve this is we bring everybody together in a room and we hang out and we talk about it. And quickly, Seed Club sort of emerged from that ooze, I guess, if you will. The idea of running accelerators came from us not knowing what the right answers were, but that being in support of, both with peers and with others who maybe have done similar things before, were a good path to figuring out what the right answers might be. And we continue with that same energy. We're 6 cohorts in, have had folks like yourself through, which have been amazing. And I think our core thesis still remains the same. There's like social and cultural and narrative and social capital is just such a core part to crypto that I think has been undervalued or underappreciated for the longest time. And Seed Club sees that as actually maybe the core reason there's value in these networks generally. And we've been running at that in various different ways for the last 3 years.
That's incredible. I love that. Yeah. And Josh as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my like early interest is pretty similar to Jess's. Actually, studying mechanical engineering actually in university, and kind of alongside that was just getting captivated by like the promise of the internet, and just it was kind of the like startup, I guess, story was starting to happen, and people launching companies and building these incredible things used by millions of people from their like dorm bedrooms was just like captivating to me. It was crazy. And kind of alongside this interest, I was studying mechanical engineering, did a co-op at like this manufacturing facility, and I was like, this is so not it. Like this other internet thing where I can just be by myself in my room and code something that millions of people use, like that's the thing that I want to spend my time on. So immediately after graduating, basically just dove into tech, learned how to code as a path in, and then spent, I guess, like 10-ish years building consumer tech companies. Most notably was at Hopper for 5 years. Had a great success story there. Was super early, kind of part of like the hyper growth to 1,000 employees, and then kind of after that was ready to take on my next thing. And the internet didn't feel like it did when I started out and what I was excited by, and started playing around in crypto, and crypto very much did. It had that kind of like early energy and optimism, and anything's possible, and people are just doing things so differently than anything else I had seen. So kind of alongside exploring my web 2 options, the crypto option seemed much more interesting, and just kind of dove in, and honestly like started just fucking around for a year. And then my interest kind of naturally pulled me into social tokens, kind of spun up a little agency's generous, but was like helping communities launch social tokens and just kind of strategize around them. And kind of along this, at the same time, I think Jess was doing a podcast tour and was just doing a much better job talking about the stuff that was interesting me, and being like the center of gravity for all the people that were interested in it. So kind of just showed up at Seed Club and was like, I'm going to start doing a bunch of stuff, and doing a good job doing that stuff. And pretty quickly just pulled me in full time. And I think it's been like 2+ years. I think I joined like shortly after the second cohort. So here we are.
It's a journey. It's a journey. And I love that, because I think that actually very much echoes because it's a similar but different journey for myself. Having been in traditional tech right before this, and I that really resonates. And just in terms of hearing this, tech is just the Web 2 stuff is just kind of boring, right? Like, and the energy, as you're talking about, the vibes, as we talk about here in Web 3, it's just not there. It's I remember all the and that was kind of the biggest, like, almost mind shift, right? When you enter this space, is this idea of, wow, everyone here is so collaborative. Everyone here could really benefit from working together. And it's not us just saying it. It's like, we actually kind of need to, because everyone's building different parts of the stack. And so I love that. It's been a good time. But guys, we'd really love to hear a bit more about Seed Club itself, right? So straight from the horse's mouth, how do you just guys describe it today? And then I'd also love to learn a bit more about the evolution over time, from inception to here. I mean, it's been a journey, right? Even in just the past couple of years.
Yeah, well, I love, like, you're tapping into the core consistent chat in our Seed Club core chat right now is like, we're shitty at actually explaining what Seed Club is. And that is actually the core ill in many of the other challenges we're trying to sort of solve right now. So I'm going to throw to Josh for this one to see what his most recent.
All right, let's go. We're gonna try on some new language right now.
This is fresh. This may or may not be language we use, but you're going to get it here. So
yeah, let's do it. So I think the timeliness of this question is incredible, because we've, like, the last week our heads have been deep into this. So the way
you get the alpha, you get it here first.
The way we are today describing Seed Club is as a venture network for modern internet enthusiasts. So I think, really we think the existing funding models, and factory farmed unicorn production line, of Web 2 and the existing, VC industry has really just, resulted us in having, a pretty boring and sterile internet. And, we ultimately think crypto is this incredible tool to, really like blow open the design space of the internet. But for us to actually, realize that, we think we need new funding models that really allow for more like socially ambitious and, uncategorizable consumer projects that, don't look like things that have rhymed in the past. to really get like the early stage support that they need. So really like the question that Seed Club asks is, what happens if we flip the venture model on its head and put, a tokenized network at the center of it that kind of allows for broad consumer participation. If the value of this network is a function of the attention it has, the demand to participate, and like the belief in the mission, does that unlock this ability for us to take, weirder bets, more cultural bets that like are just, I don't know, hard to categorize and you can't put in a spreadsheet and you can't get like these predictable growth rates and markups, but are very, very worthwhile experiments to run.
Yeah, we want to be in before the suits, and when the TAM slide is just basically a question mark. And I think we've had a pretty crazy run at doing that. We're very much at the center of the world of social tokens, very much, early into the NFT meta, very early into DAOs, very early into sort of recategorizing those as consumer. And, when we were out talking and recruiting for our consumer batch, there wasn't a whole lot of people talking about consumer. And so I think we see this as a unique thing that can come from building a deep community and a wider network of people who trust our brand and trust our network. And we have this ability to kind of get into, identify emerging narratives, participate in the defining of those narratives, bring capital to invest in those narratives. And I think that's a unique thing that this type of org structure allows for, right? So C Club is a network that has a token, and the ultimate vision here is that people participating in that network, creating value for our founders and for our ability to find and choose and back great builders, and sort of profit off of that, is absolutely core to it. So I think as much as venture network feels kind of meh to me generally, I think it is maybe the more accurate description of what we do. You think of C Club, we have C Club, the DAO, we have C Club, the venture fund. C Club, the DAO runs our accelerators and our propaganda wing, if you will. And the ventures, makes investments and has, members and LPs, et cetera. You know, in total, we have just north of $25 million that we've been able to bring to these early stage companies, and have had some great wins in crypto and in AI. And I think this C Club as a network and a machine that goes and generates attention with a high degree of trust and credibility, I think allows us to monetize that through our venture fund in a pretty effective way. And when you start looking at, really what we've done since day one is focused on getting the best builders with big visions in and supporting them to be better together. And that happens to lead to incredible deal flow, early access to really niche communities and narratives. And I think probably most importantly, are able to really bring a ton of value to builders, both through helping them get through the idea maze and the dark forest, but then also in real practical terms from the legal structuring, token launch, et cetera. And important to know that's not sure just Josh and I, right? We have this incredible network of early backers who are deeply committed to and are here because they actually truly want to support early stage founders. And I think that's like ultimately the biggest value we can bring to the table, is just continue to bring those awesome humans together and pointing them in a consistent direction.
I freaking love that. I think that honestly blew me away, because I think you guys just hit on so many different things here, right? And it's hard to just simply categorize. And I think this is, we face a similar challenge here at Myosin, right? It's like people are like, what's the elevator pitch? What's the like one liner? It's like, it's a bit more complicated than that, right? And it's exactly what you guys are talking about, this idea of these networks and ecosystems and people coming together and, trading, exchanging value and the venture network. And honestly, by the way, I do think the venture network part, I think you should keep it, right? Because I think you guys, that tagline you guys described is pretty. If I'm a focus group and you guys are just trying it out, I think it really works, because I think the first part hits on maybe the more, as Jess would say, maybe like the more suit vibe, but then the second part is the more creative vibe. So you get the best of both worlds, I think.
We added it was the two that needed to kind of live together. I think it's interesting because I think part of your question was like, how has that evolved over time? And I think, I think the very first, if you find the earliest documentation of C Club, it was a social token incubator. And then we shifted to accelerator. And the core thing that most people know us for is the accelerator. But I think we really struggled with that word as defining what we're doing because it didn't feel like it encapsulated the totality of what we're trying to go do. And I think it's very easy for people to latch on, C Club as an accelerator because you run accelerator programs. But I think from our perspective, there's so much else that we are doing that we believe will ultimately create a ton of value for participants in the accelerator and for our network. And also, I think there's a lot of, we sort of see running accelerators as a core part of this network, but are not attached to any one specific niche or type. And I think we look at the accelerators as like a great wedge into new markets. And as much as that is, we're looking for the economic upside that comes from those actions, there's also an attention and a credibility upside that comes with it. And I think that is the unique dynamic that exists in this type of network where, even if our first 5 batches 100% goes to zero, which is not going to happen, that is still a value, like a worthwhile investment for us to make because of the attention and credibility that we're able to bring to future projects based on the social capital that those projects have helped us build. So C Club as a venture network, we invest, we run accelerators, we hopefully put out profitable propaganda that helps create and fund more of the types of companies that we're interested in, right? We're interested in people who have big visions. They want to go define new categories. They're here for the long term. So we're focused on builders who are not just purely trying to build a thing for a short term pump and dump, but are trying to figure out where the long-term value accrual lives. And ultimately that's been a really useful category to curate against.
Yeah, and I think we also just want to be this really interesting like consumer brand and like experience network in many ways too, right? And I think all this stuff that we've done, something that we've seen time and time again is just how it just gets stored in our brand and like the brand value compounds by just continuing to be pushing on the edges and operating in kind of like weirder areas that you can kind of really own and become associated with, right? And our step into consumer crypto is also a big part of this. Like, when we started kind of formulating the consumer crypto accelerator, like no one was talking about consumer. So we kind of saw the opportunity, both there was like this, huge need for early stage support there, but we saw the opportunity to just come in and be loud and bring kind of all this like potential energy that we had stored in our brand and in our network and bring it to this new kind of underserved niche. And, we ran demo day 2 weeks ago, had thousands of people out, ran it as this really like wild online event that felt nothing like demo day to anybody that was there. And that's how we want to show up.
It was unhinged in the best way possible. It was incredible. And that honestly, I mean, that's great marketing, right? Like when we talk about, I really like that term that Jess used earlier of a profitable propaganda, right? Because it's like, how does the value accrue to the network? How does it come back? I mean, full disclosure for anyone listening, like Myosin, we were also in cohort 5. And, the reason we even applied for cohort 5 was because I randomly, I think on Twitter, someone was like promoting cohort 4 for their demo day, like many months before. And I was like, what is this C Club thing? It looks pretty cool. I'll show up to the demo day. And I show up to this thing. I was like, what on earth? And it was like the best energy and vibes. And I was like, this is something that I think we want to be a part of. And, it continues to proliferate on itself. Right. So it's really incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a huge part of the way that we show up. Like we show up as like huge fans of the internet, really, and huge believers in like, what our projects are building. Like Jess and I get, when we're, running this accelerator with 10 projects, like we get obsessed about what they're building and their visions for the future. Like we're not trying to, make you pivot in 2 weeks because we're not seeing growth numbers. And we just want you to, go raise the biggest round possible in 3 months. Like we like genuinely become massive fans of the founders and projects that they're backing. And I think that just, that feels very different to founders and shows up in very different ways on the internet.
They see it. Yeah. Well, and actually with that, I'd love to kind of like dive a bit. I'd like to, as the annoying tech people say, double click on that. Right. So, consumer crypto, right? I think as you were talking about earlier, Josh, it's something that, it at the beginning of 2023 was not quite as prevalent. I feel like in just, and I think you guys are actually a big part of it, proliferating that meme the Medic culture, the internet. I was over at Token 2049 in Singapore in August, and I met an investor, and I was like, "Oh, what's your investment thesis?" He's like, "We want to do like consumer crypto. I was like, "Whoa, okay." Like now, and this guy's from Germany of all things. So German and Singapore talking about consumer crypto, like it's starting to proliferate, right? So all that being said, right? So we'd love to hear, number one, like how do you guys define consumer crypto? And then what is this consumer crypto accelerator you guys have been running? How does it work? I've also had people reach out to me and just say like, how do I get involved with C Club, and how does this all work? Yeah. Yeah, we can split them up. Sorry, I tend to batch questions together, but you can take it how you will, and I'll help you put it together. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think our, how we came to consumer as a right thing for us to name the next batch and sort of focus on was really sort of gut checking our conviction, right? I think we take our minds back to the Q4 of 2022. FTX had just happened. The world seemed over. It was this sense of, I think everybody was sort of going like, hold on, like how low can this go? And maybe we're all dead and the last 10 years of our lives are over. And at those moments, I think it's important to say, okay, like why am I here? What is the interest? And I think what we came out with was that our thesis from day one, not only does it remain the same, I think it's gotten stronger and been validated even more as we've seen like the social value accrue around NFTs and DAOs and just in crypto generally. And so for us, consumer was this really awkward. We hated the name first, but it was like the best definition of these sort of three big themes and trends and the core thesis we've had from day one. It just felt like DAOs and NFTs. We were very public about our belief that DAOs are consumer products or will be consumer products in their end state. Clearly, NFTs are the driving force behind consumer adoption in the last bull market. And we felt consumer was the right sort of category to capture all of those and a whole bunch of new stuff potentially. I think also it's vague enough that I can make a really strong argument that all of crypto is consumer, right? Or at least if you're looking at price action on tokens, I think again, our belief is that Bitcoin is, yes, technology advancement, but it is really the cult that has emerged around it that has propelled that into the current value. And you've seen the narratives evolve. Same thing with Ethereum. You see this recent debate around, is the burn mechanism actually having an impact? We're not deflationary anymore. What's going on here? How does L2s work? Whatever. It's this belief in a future that actually drives a lot of that value in the tokens. But I think for us, like C Club is not the best place to go launch a DeFi protocol. There's some incredible firms and other accelerators out there that are great at that, and we're happy for them. If you're building a DeFi protocol that is not deeply consumer, which I would say is really more of an aspect of marketing and distribution rather than the technology development that's had, though that's not maybe the most helpful generally context. But so we don't touch DeFi, and we're not interested in like the deep infrastructure, because I think in many ways we sort of see a big part of the value in participating in C Club is the attention that we're able to bring to teams. And if you think about our demo day, one of the core reasons why it feels very different is because we're not trying to keep a closed room with only investors, where the goal coming out of demo day is follow-on investment. It's definitely one of the goals, but we also have huge early adopter network of people who are just like us. They're fans of the internet. They're fans of new visions for crypto. And so our ability to bring in 1,000 people to come and be stoked on that. And if you're in the demo day, you saw all the mints that were happening and there's all this action that are happening. Like that is a big part of it. So, I think we look for teams that we can really, that type of thing can really add a lot of value to. So yeah, I think our definition of consumer is really broad. There's some pretty clear, easier to define it as like the types of things that we're, not best suited to go step into. But yeah, ultimately, I think you could make a strong argument that consumer is, the driving value behind crypto prices generally has been consumer demand, and I think that's going to stay the same for a while, even if there is a tech narrative that kicks off most of that interest early on.
I love that.
Yeah, and maybe just to touch on the why now piece of that too. Like I think it very much just like felt like everybody was still over indexed on on infrastructure for like where the ecosystem was actually at, a year ago or 6 months ago when we were kind of starting to do this. Simply like the tech and infrastructure is good enough now, right? And then I think, of course it needs to get better, but it's good enough to build pretty good products that millions of people can use, right? And then I think second, there are just like enough consumers that are still here and eager and like affluent enough to either be your entire market if that's the right thing, or to use as like a meaningful wedge before like going more mass market. So I think like truly the thing that's lacking right now is great consumer experiences that's either solving real problems or serving real desires. And I think we very much believe that consumers going to capture the vast majority of the value created in this space. Like our world is dominated by attention. Everything is ultimately downstream of attention. And if you're able to repeatedly capture it, you're going to be able to, abstract away a lot of the protocols and infrastructure, probably however it serves your users best. So I think we're, both the timing felt right. I think it's broadly what the space needs. And we also just see it as this massive opportunity.
I think importantly, we are far less interested in pitches that are like, we're going to onboard the next billion people into crypto, and far more interested in teams that are like, we have this interesting mechanism and wedge, and there's 100 people who are fucking stoked on it right now. And I think that's just sort of an example of our belief that, the breakout consumer crypto products are going to come from serving crypto people first and then stepping into wider attention rather than, it doesn't move the needle for me excitement wise or I think bullishness wise if Tiffany comes and does a drop with CryptoPunks, or if all of a sudden, there's tokenized loyalty programs for your airlines. Like, cool, lots of people might use it, but I just highly doubt that's going to be the pathway it goes. It probably looks a lot more like people speculating on their friends in friend tech, and then that leads to some evolutionary opportunity. So we're looking for unique things that crypto enables, and really shying away from anything that looks like a B2B SaaS product.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting because, I think about this all the time, and well, I mean, transparently speaking, I think with Myosin, like what we're focused on is, we're building products here as well, but I think we are thinking about the B2B SaaS, and I think it really is very much like a two-tiered approach, right? Because I think for us, like when we're thinking about how onboard the masses, it's just pure, who's using it and how many people are using it. But I also agree with you that it's kind of like an and, not an or, is how I view it. Is we still need these things because we still need sheer numbers and people to use this technology, whether or not they know it. But I agree with you in the sense that to build a consumer app that people are going to get really excited about, it makes sense to kind of start with who are your first 100,000 super fans and how do you grow from there. And you're right. If they're already using crypto and they're already super into it, start here. But, what is it? Like UX has been a meme for years now, right? It's just like, we don't have good UX. We don't have good design in crypto. Why is that? I don't know. Because it's not like those people don't exist. They just, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, because there's some very practical challenges that are absolutely core to using blockchains that, that abstracting away that challenge actually adds different challenges. And so there's no perfect answer here.
It's taking some time.
That's the reality of it. Well, but I think like to push back a bit, like what if we don't need millions of users on these apps to create meaningful things, right? Like, I don't know what Friendtech topped out at as far as number of actual users, but it like sure as hell wasn't a million.
Yeah.
Right. And how many tens of millions of dollars in profit was generated from that? Like many.
I mean, that might speak to more like this fractionalization, right, of community, which I also could see, right, because there's a reality of like the beauty of the internet is, people can now find their people from all over the world. And some of those groups are going to be giant groups like Wall Street Bets, right, that, during COVID or whenever that was, right, like that's a giant community of people all over the world with similar sentiments. But at the same time, you have really hyper niche communities where, like you're saying, like there was also a lot of money there. There's a lot of spending. So if you can build the right things for other people, it can happen on any sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like the narrative is if you can getting it to work with a small number of people and have that game be clear and exciting is the first step before being able to attract larger numbers of people. I don't think you get to mass consumer adoption by abstracting away all crypto and thinking that there's something interesting there, novel and different, that's going to attract millions of people. Like the way you get there is by building a game, helping people get rich, getting a ton of attention and interest, or and rich doesn't have to just be money, right? I think there's a lot of reputational and social value that people get from participating in these things, and that is the stepping stone to potentially larger markets. And so for our purposes, like somebody trying to run at building a tokenized loyalty point program for airlines is just not remotely interesting to us. But maybe being able to speculate on, maybe like a fun consumer airline tycoon game might be a fun way to get people in and playing around with something. And maybe you end up in the same place eventually. All these tokens are exchangeable for airline points in the future. I don't know, but I just
It's the
think that,
activations. It's the activations.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, everyone's days are already fully allocated, right? So like the way that you start eating away at someone else's allocation is by having a very new, novel product.
Yeah. And actually, just that's what we're thinking about. It. Yeah, that's what we're thinking about as well. It's just like, what are the delightful consumer experiences you can create that happen to use crypto or blockchain,
Well,
or are deep in it, depending on who you're targeting. Yeah,
I think Myosin and C Club have like an interesting opportunity, which is, and I think crypto generally, like, we as human beings just naturally want to categorize everything. I love Al Reese as like a marketing guru, right? The dude is just a goat. Imagine your big bookshelf, or library card shelf. You have categories. There's only one category winner, etc. But I think within crypto, you sort of end up in these like blending of consumer and what maybe would traditionally be considered more business. And clearly, your professional network, C Club, is a professional network. It would be one of the tags that would be added to the description in some way. And I think Peace Note on our
professional
connector,
venture network.
yeah, well, okay. Peace Note described this well as saying, like, creating this sort of third place online where it's not purely fun, it's not purely work, but it's sort of this mixture of the two, I think is really the big opportunity. So, something we think about a lot, and even more recently, is this challenge of, you know, even where we are today, which I'd still say is so early, we're so early, Blake, so early. We struggle with having so more demand to be useful than we have supply of people who need to be used. That's maybe not the right terminology, but you know what I'm trying to get at here. And it's actually a big challenge for us, right? Where we actually if we were to try to fully tap into all the brilliance we have in our network, we're going to degrade the experience for our founders because it's just overwhelming and lacking context. And so our ability to create a dynamic where people can feel like they're being very useful to C Club and earning their ownership in it is probably our biggest opportunity beyond, that we haven't fully leaned into. And I think a big part of that is being able to communicate, once we're able to figure that out, and I think we have some really good insights on how we're at least going to run at that experiment, our ability to frame C Club as an experience that people can come and be a part of, be useful for, earn a part of, get early access to is key. So it is a consumer product in many ways, but that consumer product is actually kind of work, but our job is to make it feel like it's not totally work.
Well, it's something that I think about all the time, especially as like even for a similar thing, right? Is we're architecting Myosin and we're thinking about our own token and how it accrues value. We think of it as social currency, right? And so it's this idea of like that's what a DAO is, that's what a network is, right? Like how are you just aligning the actors within the system to want to all do the same thing or coordinate in the same way, right? It's the economic alignment and social alignment to make things work. And I think that's the beauty of everything you guys are talking about is with token and with this kind of like, also, I haven't heard that idea of this third place online, right? So I love that concept. It's something
I think
there's
probably an investment thesis just around third place. Maybe that's the evolution of the community thesis from the last little while. And I think there's a lot of folks right now, if you think about just pure, investment narratives, DAOs, communities, these are not things people are rushing to put money into right now. And I think that may lead many to believe that that's sort of a category that just doesn't have a lot of legs in the future. But I think that couldn't be further from the truth. I think, this desire to come together around new things, pool social capital, still alive and strong over in the Nouns ecosystem. Josh and I was talking about the Hey coin earlier today. Again, example of that, right? Like there's just, it's going to look different, but I think our belief is that it's going to feel a lot more potentially ephemeral, but definitely more aligned with entertainment value than than work value, if you will. And so I think the third place, looking for third places that have, I think that the importance of that value flow is key, right? Like there needs to be DAOs and community tokens V1 were hype and lacked revenue and lacked sustainability. And I think those that survive out of this will have put a premium on sustainability and value flow back into those networks, or at least are running at that directly. I know that's a lot of our conversations are in and around that, and so, and I think there are it'll be surprising to many people. I think the longevity of many of these, even if you look at Friends with Benefits, running low on treasury, but making a bunch of changes that I think will ultimately mean that thing's going to sustain itself for, well, I mean, the FWB token will live forever. So like, what is the timeline on those sort of things? And you
They
definitely
just
based on the
they just
prices right
appointed
now.
their 5-person council, and really excited to see what happens there. So
Yeah, I don't know if
optimistic.
that's the most bullish thing in my personal point of view, but yeah, I think it is from a sustainability perspective. I think they've cut their costs significantly.
Well, what I'll say from a personal point of view is I think it's better to have some kind of structure, I think, or people to like guide it forward, because before it was a lot of chaos. It's just that's the only thing I'll say publicly for now. Yeah,
I still hold a bunch of Friends with Benefits tokens, so I wish them well.
there you
And
go.
their events have been killer. So I think like, yeah, the sustainability of these things is key, and it's the third place is, maybe we should do a third place accelerator, Josh. That's the next thing. We got so many ideas for different types of accelerators, Blake. It's going to be weird if we decide to go do it. We're not just switching anytime. Consumer is the big meaty one we're running at right now, but you expect us to do something weird.
It's a secondary one. Yeah, you can play around with it. We'd love to start to zoom out a little bit, right? So we've been talking a lot about Seed Club, about networks and all this. But again, it's all connected. So I think we had actually touched on friend tech earlier, right? SocialFi. So we'd love to just get thoughts on this idea of SocialFi. And, I think it sounds like I get a sense of how you guys feel about it, but I am curious about, is it, well, I mean, it's fun, right? To be able to speculate on your friends. Is that the right thing? Is it an early thing? Do you think like what comes out of that? And then how is it going to keep transforming and evolving? Is it just the first part of, many evolutions where eventually it'll become, as you said earlier, Jess, like sustainable, right? But curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I can start. I think friend tech is a very, very worthwhile experiment to be running and very informative for, I think, many builders that'll be following their path. I think, yeah, one is of course just like the tech stack that they've like proved the usefulness of, like this, embedded wallet, L2, no side, like no sign transactions, just the user experience wins that they've really proved, and the viral growth that can come from that, I think is a huge learning. I think secondly, the power, of course, the power of speculation, we've known that, but the power of like, rev share and making users money by default is something that I think we're already seeing as kind of this new emerging meta, right? I think, beyond the promise of an airdrop, beyond the very aggressive bonding curve, the fact that, people running rooms that are creating a ton of value and more people want to be a part of, and, people are getting value from and then leaving and then telling people and they're joining and earning, meaningful amounts of ETH from that is
It's pretty incredible.
Is incredible, yeah. Right? And that's something that we have just never seen before in social. So I think that's another huge learning for me, I guess. Yeah, Jess, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to just reject SocialFi as a term generally, be on record for that. I think that's like actually missing the point. I agree with everything Josh has said there. I think there's a lot of commentary out on the internet right now around it being over and dead, and that may be the case. Maybe isn't the case. I think this, this is the fourth product from this team. They've had two that were in complete obscurity. Then Steel Cam and now Friendtech. I think there's a reasonable possibility that really what Friendtech becomes is more about the group of people building ephemeral internet speculative games that have a shelf life, and that they'll probably go do other ones. there's also a likelihood that they continue to develop Friendtech, and there is core utility there that people want to use. I think I'm probably more bullish on the former than the latter as I sit here today. But I think, Josh and I were talking earlier about a take that Chris, who's early in Flamingo, forget his last name, talking about just that the arena we're all playing in is crypto, and our ability to launch NFTs or interesting products within it is more about capturing attention and creating entertainment value, and that maybe that is like the main game and arena that we're playing in, is our ability to create attention getting games.
It's the attention economy, and that's actually not that different from Web 2, right? That's just the world. That's the internet, is attention, right? How do you capture attention and monetize it? So sorry, just commenting on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing. So I think a big unlock from novel remixing of tech stack and mechanisms will lead to a bunch of other experimentation. I think we're in the part of the cycle right now where people are just trying to copy Friendtech and put it on different chains. And saw one from Bitcoin City or something like that earlier.
New Bitcoin City. It's amazing.
Oh my God.
Friendtech, but on Bitcoin. Like I'm pretty sure that's not the thing, but I expect we'll see a bunch of interesting experiments, inspired by Friendtech, and who knows what the longevity of those things are. But I think you can, Friendtech again is an example of not a huge user base, not billions of dollars of volume, but like millions of dollars of revenue earned both by the company and by people trading on it. So something there.
Yeah, and we mentioned Hey earlier, and I think meme coins are actually an incredible like social fi product as well. Hey, I quoted, for anyone that can't see, I quoted, so I was saying it ironically. But it's like another kind of example of this thesis of like crypto as like episodic entertainment that Jess was pointing out, where you can you're not just like consuming a storyline, right? Like you're like an actor and a writer and like a participant in this like real time communal emerging storyline, and that's just like so fun. Like when you jump into the Hey Telegram and see them just like throwing out memes and narratives and seeing which ones get picked up. And
I don't think I'm up to speed on Hey. Actually, can you break it down for me and
you want us to go there?
world?
You want? Okay, yeah, I can do it very quickly. So basically, someone discovered, we're calling them crypto archaeologists, discovered that there's the like first token that was used to test Uniswap, which is like
Hey with the HAY.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, but you should still tell people.
I'll describe it. So it's been dormant. It's been dormant for, I think 2018 it was launched, been dormant for many years, but some of it still existed on like the V1 of the Uniswap protocol. Someone discovered this, pulled out all the liquidity that existed and relaunched it in V3, and then started distributing narratives around, this is the original meme coin, like all meme coins came from this. It's like the crypto punk of meme coins, whatever, right? So suddenly there's tons of degen activity. There's a community forming in Telegram. People are spending tons and tons of time just strategizing, shooting the shit, trying to figure out how to like propagate all these memes that they're creating, and just like seeing how much fun people have around doing this, I think are like, it's going to be a very competitive product to these kind of like scripted broadcast media that we grew up, staring at, right? Like, do you think this like 15-year-old is going to want to play around with meme coins or sit there and watch Netflix? I don't know. Meme coins seem like a decent place to, spend some disposable entertainment income.
Well, they might do both. They might be watching Netflix and be trading meme coins.
Yeah, you're right.
Based on my personal experience, that's very likely.
I think I did that yesterday. Wait, and then wasn't that the one also where Hayden, he had, for some reason, his wallet was the burner wallet, and then he burned it all?
No, so he had he had like 99.9% of the supply.
He burned it all.
So whatever, it was at like a $2 trillion market cap. All these people were trading, and then he eventually announced that he was uncomfortable holding $700 billion of Hey, which is reasonable, and the degens were coming at him, so he burned them, and this sent off a lot of green candle activity.
One is technically 3 million, I think I read the other day, or something like that.
Yeah, because there's like 10 of them in circulation. Like 99.9% of the supply got burned. So the token price is off the charts. But anyways, it's just this very fun internet experience that just previously was not possible.
And that's the interesting. And so I'm just like, I'm processing, I'm like trying to think it through. I mean, I think, as we've talked about before, I think it's this idea of the fractionalization of communities, niche communities, sub communities, and the empowering of them with, like internet culture. So I'm just thinking through, like, maybe, yeah, I guess that is where a lot of this is headed, right? And it is, and I think what you guys are talking about with more ephemeral digital experiences or consumer internet experiences, like, makes a lot of sense. I mean, in Web 2, that was Mischief, right? They've been doing that for a long time. I don't know what they're up to now. I mean, I think they're still doing it in some form or
Still
another.
going. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's worked really well for a reason because, yeah, it's an attention game. That's all we're playing here. That's all we're playing. Would love to. I want to make sure we're respectful of time here. So I'm just going to there's a couple more I'd love to touch on, and then we should probably jump into rapid fire questions. But we'd love to. With Netcetera, right? I think a big part of the season 2, right, is thinking about what is the next generation of the internet. Obviously, crypto and blockchain are going to play an incredibly big role in that, as we're talking about. But we'd love to actually touch on the other parts of emerging tech, right? Whether it's AI, whether it's AR and virtual economies and all that. I guess what I'd love to kind of hear from you guys is how you think about the intersection of these things, right? Where I think a lot of people talked about AI and blockchain. We're building some stuff there right now. I think AR, it's not here yet, but it's in the next 5 years will certainly become a really big part of our everyday lives. Who knows? Maybe in 5-10 years from now, we'll all be wearing our AR Apple glasses or whatever it is. And then, metaverse, yeah, Google, right? And then metaverse, it's a little complicated, right? Because you could argue games are already metaverses and whatever, but people may call it dead, but obviously it's going to be a bigger part of our future. So curious how you guys are thinking about, maybe let's narrow in on AI and AR specifically, because metaverse has been talked about for quite a long time. But AI, AR, how does that fit in with blockchain? Is there anything interesting you guys are already seeing, actually? Yeah, so that's the open-ended question.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are, anytime there's a new platform that emerges, new innovation will be sparked from it. So, AR, I think is, we're in the AI hype cycle right now, and clearly there's a ton of opportunity there. And I think it's fair to say that's going to touch pretty much every industry in one way or other, if it hasn't already. And I think we're already seeing a lot of teams make use of these tools that are, very accessible, right? I think this is the unique thing about AI right now is that, outside of like the truly bleeding edge, most people are on a fairly even playing field, right? We can tap into these APIs and platforms, and of course, there's like a huge spark of speculation around these sort of interesting new wrapped versions of OpenAI, et cetera. But I think a lot of people believe, and I think I'm in this camp, that most of the value from AI is going to flow to incumbents, and there will be some winners that are able to build net new products and brands around it. But my guess is a lot of crypto builders will be making use of AI tool sets as an enabler for whatever their networks are trying to get done. I think we're experimenting with it as well. We've made a few investments in AI. We're first money into Stability.ai, which is one of the big LLM platforms, open source, very much aligned with our broader thesis. We backed Spawning, which is sort of like a tool set and mechanism for ensuring that artists have their rights recognized in a generative world, if you will, and a couple other investments there. So pretty bullish on it. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. But my guess is you're going to start to see a lot of the existing crypto brands, DAOs, investors, et cetera, really make a ton of use of AI to reduce information asymmetry and just be a lot more informed and effective. I think there's others that are making sort of bets that the infrastructure layer for AI right now is very centralized. And so if you can decentralize that, there'll be use cases for that. I think that's interesting. So yeah, there's a ton of room in both of those. I think when you have, a lot of people sort of talk about it in the context of the iPhone moment, right? Like so much of our modern startup world was built on the fact that all of a sudden the iPhone existed as a new platform and distribution mechanism and apps, et cetera, et cetera. I think, you know, right now, I think we just have compounding innovations that are emerging. So, you know, my guess is looking at the intersection of any of those things is going to be really interesting. You know, AR and AI, crypto and AI, crypto and AR, like there's plenty of excitement to be had in and around those. So, you know, we're active in two of those categories. I think we have one investment in the AR world, but I would expect that to pick up quite a bit as people can actually touch and feel, and there's human beings using these things.
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree with all that. I think maybe two other really interesting intersections are, I think, you know, autonomous agents obviously are going to be a thing, and I think it's pretty clear that they're just going to prefer transacting in crypto versus like fiat rails. It's just like this understandable like code based currency, right? So I don't know if my fridge just like knows it's empty and is ordering me food, and I don't even have to intervene there. That's just going to happen in crypto. So I think, you know, autonomous agents using crypto as payment rails is probably a pretty interesting thing to explore and think about. Really, the one that kind of captures my mind is, you know, in this, you know, we're obviously transitioning to this world of like infinite content. Anyone can produce anything. Very hard to know what's verifiable and true. I think in that world, in that future, I think you know, brands and trusted communities and like human to human relationships just become increasingly important. And, you know, obviously we're all here because we think crypto is going to play an important role in the future of brand and the future of communities and the future of like human organization online. So I think it's just kind of going to accelerate the desire to participate in, yeah, like, you know, cozier social networks as we call them, or DAOs, or, you know, brands that you can trust distributing
the
media that you want to
fragmentation.
consume.
Yeah, and the subcommunities, right? I love it. That's absolutely crazy. And I think especially, I mean, people have talked about this probably ad nauseum, right? But like even right now with all the craziness happening in the world, right? Social media, all these things starting to proliferate, and you don't know what's true, what's not. You know, that where's the source of truth? If only there were a place you could store things and no one could, you know, you could actually trust it, or trustless. You know, if only there were trustless data layer we could create of some sort. Cool.
Still a lot of work to be done and actually being
Yeah.
able to say that confidently, that there is trustless
Yeah.
media to, you know, but yeah, agreed.
It's only as it's an idea until someone builds it, right? And then someone actually can execute. It's all in the execution is what we've seen, right? Yeah. Just a couple more things. So I guess I would love to better understand, as you guys are starting to think to the future, right? And they're starting to look towards next year and how C cultures continue to evolve. How do you continue? Do you see a role within the ecosystem as just kind of continuing to grow out the network as this venture network and, you know, the new internet? And I guess, how do you see that evolving? Do you think there are going to be other bigger ambitions further down the roadmap that have yet to even be unlocked? Curious.
I mean, I think our ambitions are greater than the unlocks or even potential unlocks that we see right now. I think, you know, a global venture network and brand that people are compelled and excited to participate, add value to, and own a piece of, I think is a very, very lofty goal, you know? And so I think like our work is focused on moving the needle on that. So we have we'll run a next batch in early next year. We have a drop that'll come out at the end of this year, really trying to engage more people in the sharing of interesting ideas and concepts, and hopefully sparking some more inspiration, but also at the same time, hopefully great marketing for our next batch. I think we teased early on, we have a new internet show that we're rolling out right now, which is part of a broader media strategy. We have, you know, C Club as a publisher. It will, I think, be something we'll talk about in the not so distant future, something we've done inconsistently, but have a great opportunity to lean into a little bit more. And of course, the core of our network is the success of our builders. And so we continue to work really diligently with our last batch as they sort of just left the nest, and then our alumni that are continuing to build, you know, through the adversity that has been the last year and a bit. And so a big focus of ours is how do we continue to support them, and ultimately how do we support a wider network in a more scalable way. Right now, I feel deeply frustrated that I'm a friction point in many of these experiences, right? And that's good to a degree, but also has like meaningful limitations. At the same time, we have like way more smart people that are in our network than are sitting, between Josh and I sitting here on this call with you. So um, that's a big part that we'll be running at pretty aggressively in the next little while. And I think importantly, C Club has a token, but the token hasn't been the main focus in anything that we've done, because our belief is for that to be valuable and effective, we need to build real, meaningful value in our network, and that has been the focus of ours over the last little while. And also, frankly, I think we're continuing to see a lot of work and innovation on how to distribute tokens and what's the best way to do that. That meta has changed quite a bit in the last 6 months alone. So it's still very much a focus of ours, and I think we're excited to be in a position where we can really lean into the full vision, right? Which is that as you contribute value to C Club, you get to become a governor of the C Club network, and that connection and ownership leads to deeper emotional and deeper connection with C Club that ultimately is a core flywheel that we're excited to really lean into. So when I say it's still early, it's just so early. We want to go do so many more things than we know how to go do, or we're actually physically capable of right now.
I love that. And it's exciting here, right? Because I think there's a big vision, there's a lot to get done, but there's a network, and I've been witness to it over the past year and a half, and you guys are absolutely crushing it. So I'm really excited for all this fun stuff to come out, and I want to accumulate more seed token. So please let me know.
Club. It's
club.
Club.
Yeah, club.
Please.
It's been a while.
Blake.
It's been a while. It sits there in my wallet. I haven't gotten to use it.
That is a problem. We're gonna make sure that you are very, very clear on what the token is. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, club token. There we go. It sits there in my wallet. I need more. Cool. Let's move to rapid fire questions, and then we can wrap it up, and I can get you guys, back to building. So rapid fire questions, pretty straightforward. I'll throw it out. You guys respond pretty quickly, and then we'll go through them. Maybe we'll
respond rapidly. You want us to respond rapidly to these questions?
There we go.
Okay, I think I'm with you.
Yeah. And then I'm not sure how we want to do order or whatever, but we'll just go whoever wants to answer first, maybe, and then just move with it. So if you could pick one project, whether in Web3, AI, emerging tech as a whole, not including your own. So I guess in this case, not a part of the C Club network, external to that you're most bullish and excited on.
I'm just gonna say Friendtech, because I think it continues to be this very interesting emerging experiment. They continue to have a ton of attention. They're shipping rapidly, so I'm gonna say.
God, you're so fucking predictable, Josh.
I know.
But you did go first, so I appreciate it. I think this is more of a content. Josh and I have been 3.5 months so deep into our projects that I'd like. But I think to me, I'm. I think I shared profitable propaganda earlier. That's a Jacob Hornism from Zora. I think Zora is probably one of the most interesting products in crypto right now, especially the work they're defining a new meta around this idea of minting and abstracting away the challenge for a creator to actually issue an NFT. You don't need any crypto to go do that right now, which is fascinating. And then they're building a referral and rewards mechanism there that actually distributes value back to those in the value chain. And I think that is super interesting. I also believe that minting is a new type of activity that more and more people will be doing. And so to me, that's the most interesting one. And then I'll continue to throw nouns out there, because I think it just, so many of builders in the space think that they need to go build and design the perfect economy. I think nouns is like, actually, if we just create this broad kind of sense of everybody on the same page with a similar-ish direction, but not a whole lot of design in it, that interesting things emerge from it. And so I think it's just a great counterpoint to the deep engineering desire to build and manage their own economies, and instead saying, well, if we have shared values represented through owning this token, that interesting things can happen and emerge. So bullish on both of those.
Bullish on nouns, bullish on Zora, and bullish on Friendtech. There we go. This next one is one of my favorites. Biggest professional learning over the past 12 months.
Well, I think I have consistent learning. So I am trying to be very aware of where and how I get in the way of great people doing great things. And I shared one with Josh yesterday. I think stepping out of my own schedule and mind frame and urgency, and how just there's sort of this desire I think founders have just to drive things forward all the time. But my
I can
realization
relate.
was that, my realization was that actually, the desire to drive things forward all the time using my schedule and in mind was actually slowing our team down, because our team are activators. They like to get in and start building. And I witnessed this word of like, oh yeah, well, we can come back and circle back on that tomorrow type thing, when generally the answer is they can probably go get it done this afternoon. So that's like a small insight into
It's really important. Yeah.
well, it's an ongoing exploration of how and when my weirdness gets in the way of other people doing great things. I'm really great at certain things, but like there are many things I should not touch, and it's an evolution of my understanding of those things, I think, would be my answer.
I
Nice.
love that.
Yeah, I think mine is naturally not super comfortable in environments like this, or speaking on stages, or facilitating discussions at big events. But I think the thing that I've really realized over the last year is, by being, I think, as obsessed about something as I am about crypto and the potential of all this stuff we're building, and Seed Club, is I just have we're just so deep in it and have so many interesting discussions, and I'm like reading and consuming so much that I actually just now have a lot to say and talk about, and have a lot of ideas that other people who aren't as deep, like, just wouldn't have arrived at yet or been exposed to. And that just makes all of this stuff so much easier when you just have a lot to say.
Yeah. So it's almost like getting out of your own way. It's like, hey, like, and it's recognizing that you are smart, Josh, and you have a lot to say, and people want to hear it, right? That's why you're here. And I think you've said a lot of really incredible things. Yeah.
Yeah, clearly, but deserves to be on stages like this, and many
Yeah.
more and bigger. I think it's been fun to watch. Um, there's sort of like, I don't think Josh is meaningfully smarter today or a different human being today than before, but the confidence through the many at bats that happens, and I think that's just like such an opportunity for all of us that are building these types of things. Like, how do we engineer more of those opportunities so that that confidence can grow? And I think if I've had the
We
pleasure
also
of
have to
working with
hop
Josh
each
for a long time.
other's podcast for the till the end of time. Put it all on chain.
Exactly. Well, Josh and I podcast daily. It's called Zoom calls, and we hang out. We just don't record it. We did it in IRL, then maybe it would be a new thing. But yeah.
You gotta have an audience. It's the audience that gets you nervous. Cool. Last two here. You have, and I guess it's for each of you. If you have $1 million, ideally, in ETH, USDC, whatever you want, airdrops right into your wallet, or fiat checking account, depending on what you want to do. What would you go build today outside of C Club? And yeah, in the broad world of emerging tech, Web3, and all that. Yeah.
What would we build?
Yeah. Or what would you do?
I mean, the constraint there is more about time. That's the problem. Capital's not gonna give me any more time to build stuff. Yeah, I think building. I'm like deeply fascinated about. I think consumer brands, like the world of luxury fashion, less so on like the kind of like superficial side, and more just like the like meaning creation and brand building and like world building that they do. So I would probably just like jump into that and just try to make a bunch of mistakes and learn a lot about just how to do that well.
Is this a good place to give a shout out to Slow Rodeo and kind of what they're building, which is similar very much in that row? I don't know if you guys want to give a quick description. I don't know if anyone is listening. I'm very excited about them too. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the simplest is they're building Shopify for Web3 brands. This new tech stack that enables community owned and operated brands to flourish, and they just happen to be three guys who've built big successful brands and or worked at agencies that have worked with the biggest brands. So I think when you start off with that sort of new vision or direction in the end, I think people will be surprised about some of the types of interactions and value that gets created there. So I think Court Date is their first brand they'll be launching soon, and it's focused around like the tennis world. And Yeah, it's definitely one to watch. Um, my answer is that it's just impossible for me to answer this question because I think C Club is literally a manifestation of like the perfect thing for me to go build and do. And I, honest to God, am unemployable otherwise. And I don't think, I don't know.
World's best facilitator. You just go
Yeah,
straight
maybe I would
after
go
that.
try to take over Jake Hal's position. I'd pay him $1 million to stop being on the All In podcast, and I'd step in and be the host, and everybody would rejoice. And
I listen to that.
the
Yeah.
social validation and credibility that would come from that would be well worth the $1 million investment.
There you go. Best $1 million ever spent.
Yeah, nobody would have to listen to Jake Hal jump in and cut off a good point by somebody else.
There we go.
I'm just going to do, actually, maybe what I do is I build a counter trader for crypto. As much as there's value counter trading Jim Cramer, I think there's probably similar value to counter trading Jason Calacanis.
Oh, yeah.
His Bitcoin calls have been in the opposite direction.
There we go.
Paul Grams have been pretty good too.
I saw you retweet that the other day. I was like, this is
you had to. Good. His timing was like, it literally was the bottom. It was like absolute bottom. It was amazing.
And then you saw Kramer on October 11th. He was just like, what was he? It was like he was just hating on
going
Bitcoin.
To zero,
and then, of course,
zero scam.
Going to zero. Bearish Bitcoin. It's all going to get and then
bye, Lehman Brothers.
Then it started taking off. There we go. All right. And then this last one, actually, I think is, I've been asking this question for a while. I think now is probably the most interesting time to ask this, which is craziest predictions for emerging tech, crypto, all this by end of year 23. And then if you really want to get spicy, we could also talk about, 24.
I mean, I have to, craziest predictions, I think has to go in the like AI realm, just because like nothing that insane has ever existed before. So I think my predictions maybe not specific, but I just like intuitively feel that OpenAI is like internally way further ahead than they're letting on. They're like holding back, trying to scare regulators into, handing a monopoly over to them. So I think they're way further ahead than everyone thinks and believes, and something they release next year or where we're at this time next year with AI is just going to be like incomprehensible today.
Blow everyone out of the water. Scary. Yeah.
Yeah, but luckily we have Stability.ai who's building open source models, so it's good. It's good. Yeah, I think this cycle might be the time that actually that Bitcoin might be seen as a true hedge against risk, and like its digital gold narrative might actually deeply connect. I think maybe that's where this price action's coming from, and definitely have a macro setup that might continue to drive that with overspending and wars and yada yada. So
China just started. They announced their stimulus package, right? And they're going to be printing a lot more money themselves.
Well, the United States is going to have to as well. It's just like an inevitability.
Everyone. Oh, so I'm sorry. I mean, China is the starting point, and then
yeah.
Also, election year, like they're obviously.
Oh my God.
Stimulate the economy. Yeah.
Beyond that, I think just I'm excited to continue to shed this pure hype, speculation, monkey JPEG narratives around crypto, and for people to actually start to dip their toes back into it with some of these teams that have really trying to build meaningful, lasting organizations or networks here. And so I think maybe we just have this cloud over crypto might lift in early 2024 as the weirdness dissipates to a degree, and credible builders emerge and take their hopefully rightful place as leaders of this industry.
It's starting to happen with the help of C Club and with the builders themselves. It's coming soon. I love it. Well, listen, guys, this was an awesome conversation. Really excited to share this with the world. I think you guys both crush it. I think you guys are doing amazing things with C Club. I'm really proud that we're a part of the network, and it's gonna be an incredible end of the year and onwards to bigger and better things. One last thing, actually, I just remembered is we always leave the very end to give you guys a chance to do a quick shill, basically just for yourselves, C Club. Where can people find you? Where can people apply or get in contact if they want to participate in the next cohort? Throw out the handles, website, wherever you want to direct people, and you know.
Seedclub.xyz. Seedclub.xyz. And then you should go follow Josh. He's criminally underfollowed on the internet. I'm not even want to give my Twitter handle. Go follow Josh. He'll make sure you're in the know. And if
What's
you
the
decide,
handle?
Josh CRNLS. And DM me. Yeah, if you're a builder, DM me. If you're just crypto enthusiast, DM me. I think we have this emerging network that's going to have something for truly like anybody that's very interested in frontier internet experiences. So get at us.
and it's not just builders. If you are an early adopter that likes to play around with brand new things, or if you're building something that maybe you've got investment from somewhere else, or you're not ready for investment yet, we have a community called Test Flight Club. It's all about, we bring one new product in a week, and we have early beta testers in there that are excited to use new things and give real feedback, and sort of frees founders from this limitation of like, is this people hunting airdrops, or they're actual real human beings trying to give me this feedback? So it's a small, heavily curated community. We have a couple hundred people on the wait list right now, but would love to continue to grow that. And we're opening up new spots in that community on a weekly basis. So just follow Josh. If you follow Josh, and then all the rest of things become good for you.
Absolutely. Also, Blake, huge fans of what you guys have been doing too. I think some of the easiest bear market conversations we had were with you, and you're just like, we have a business, we're good. It's like, all right, sweet, moving on.
Yeah, we're doing all right, and I'm really excited about the products we're building. So there's going to be a lot more to come on our end as well. So new website, by the way. I don't think I told you guys. Yeah, new website coming out. There's a lot of stuff cooking. Yeah, you'll see. Amazing. So I think that's it. I already kind of said my spiel, but just once again, just gratitude to you guys and everything we're doing together at Seed Club and the whole network, and really excited for what the future holds, because we're fucking building it. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go. And so with that, thank you so much, guys. I'll see you online, and have a great rest of your day.
We hope you enjoyed this episode in Etc. If you'd like to learn more about marketing and innovation in emerging tech, please visit www.meissen.xyz and subscribe to our newsletter at www.netcetera.media to get started. And if you're a fan of the show, please show your support by subscribing and leaving a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.